Hello everybody and welcome to our new lesson, lesson 12-5, circles in the coordinate plane. In this lesson we are going to learn how to find the equation of a circle and how to find the center and the radius of a circle. So let's start with a small revision. What is a circle? If we go to the definition of the circle, we will find that a circle is a shape consisting of all points in a plane that are given distance from a given point, which we call it the center. So we have three keywords here. We have the center, which is a given point. We have a set of points that are a given distance away from the center. So since we are working in the coordinate plane, if I have the coordinates of 2 points, I can calculate their distance using the following formula. The distance between 2 points is equal to x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So as you can see here, I have 2 points. The first one has a coordinate x1, y1, and the second one has a coordinates of x2, y2. Now, in a coordinate plane, these points are or should be given at a certain point. Now, let's take the circle. The circle has 3 critical values. Now, we have a center. We will call its coordinates h and k, and we will call it point 1. This is the main point. Okay. And a group of points, which since they are many, they have different coordinates, but let's all agree that the first coordinate will always be x, so I'm going to name it x. The second coordinate is always the y coordinate, so I'm going to call it y. For this, I will call this point point 2. And since we all know that the points around the circle, or on the circle, sorry, the points on the circumference of the circle are all at a given distance, which we call it the radius, so the radius is r. So what do I get? If I replace what I have here, I will get this formula, that the radius is equal to the square root of x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. Now, just to make it simple, I'm going to square both sides. I'm going to square here, I'm going to square here. The square is going to get rid of the radical, and I will come with an outcome that the radius squared is equal to x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, which is going to lead me to the only theorem in this lesson, which is theorem 12-16. An equation of a circle with center hk and radius r is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals to r squared. And the equation in this form, we call it the standard form of an equation of a circle. So this form we see right here, this one, we call it the standard form, or we will just simply call it the standard equation. So every time now we talk about standard equation, we are talking about this form right here. Okay, let's continue. Now, how do we use this? How do we write an equation of a circle? So, in order to show you how, we are going to solve problem 1. What is the standard equation of a circle with center 5, -2 and radius 7? First and always, we start by the formula that we know. That's the general form of the equation. That's the standard equation. So, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals to r squared. Now I start to replace with what I have. What is the value of h here? It is 5, so I'm going to replace this h by 5. And k is -2, so I'm going to replace this k with -2. Always remember, it's h first, k second. So 5 minus 2, and the radius in this case is 7. So I'm going to replace these values and I will get the following equation: x minus 5 squared, y minus negative 2. As you can see, this minus, since k is negative, when I replaced it, I put it inside a parenthesis. And the first h is positive. I don't have to put it, but if you like to keep it as a good practice, it's your choice. In my case, I don't need it because it's positive. And now the next step is simplifying. X minus 5 squared, I cannot do anything to it. I have to keep it in the square form. Here, y minus negative 2, these two negatives are going to be multiplied to each other. It will be turned into positive. And 7 squared, I'm going to calculate it into 49. And I will get the final form right here. As I said before, the x minus 5 will not be changed. Y minus negative 2, I'm going to multiply these two minuses to get y plus 2 squared, and y squared, 7 squared, sorry, is equal to 49. Let's do it again. What is the standard equation of each circle? In part A, we start by the equation. H is equal to 3. K is equal to 5, and radius is equal to 6. So I'm going to replace these values. As you can see, in each parenthesis there is no simplification. The only problem is I have 6 squared. I'm going to calculate it to give me x minus 3 squared, y minus 5 squared equals to 36. In part B, I also start with the equation. Now h is equal to negative 2. I'm going to replace it. K is equal to negative 1. I'm going to replace it. And radical 2 is the radius, so I'm going to replace it instead of r. Now, as you can see here, I have a minus, so I'm going to use a parenthesis. See, I use the parenthesis when I replace it. And also negative 1, I use parenthesis. And even for the radical, I will put also a parenthesis. And now, when I calculated these two minuses, they will become a plus, so x plus 2. These two minuses, they are going to be a plus. They are going to be plus 1. And the radical 2 squared, the square cancels the radical, or you can calculate it to radical 4 and then replace it by 2. It is equal to 2. Okay, let's move on. Now, if I have a graph, I can take away the information from the graph I know. What is the standard equation of the circle with center 1, negative 3, and passes through the point 2, 2? So here they didn't give us the radius per se. They didn't give us this, the radius directly, but they told me that this point right here is the center, and this point right here is the is on the circle, which means the distance between these 2 points should be the radius. So how do I calculate the radius in this case? I will use the distance formula. The radius, which is the distance between these 2 points, is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1 squared. Now, you could ask me which point is x2, which point is x1, and the answer is whatever makes you happy. Okay, it doesn't matter which point you use as 2 and 1 as long as you are consistent, which means if you chose this one to be x2, then this one is y2. If this is x1, this is y1. You cannot tell me that this is x1 right here and this is y1 right here. It doesn't work this way. You have to be consistent in choosing the points. So in this case, I chose this point right here to be point 2, and this point right here to be point 1. Okay, so it is x2 1 minus 2, y2 negative 3 minus 2. Now the rest is just simplifying values. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1 squared, negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5 squared. Now continuing with the simplifying, negative 1 squared is equal to 1. Negative 5 squared is equals to 25. Don't forget that there's a parenthesis here. Okay, so we keep the parentheses at all times. We don't remove the parentheses until I square the final answer inside here. Okay, so negative 1 squared is 1, negative 5 squared is 25. Adding them, they will equal to radical 26. Now, you may be tempted to change it into a decimal value, but I don't recommend it, since later on the equation will tell you to square the r. Okay, which means you are going to square whatever the answer here. So this radical is going to be gone anyhow, so don't round the answer into decimal until you write the final equation. Okay, so here, which point is the radius, which point is the center? Sorry, the center is this point right here, 1, negative 3. This is the center right here, so I'm going to use this one is h and this one is k. And the radius, I already have it here, so I'm going to replace it here. I will have x minus 1 squared, y minus negative 3. Remember to put the parentheses, squared, and 26 squared. And simplifying, these two minuses will become plus, and here the square and the radical, they are going to cancel each other, and it will become 26. Okay. Now, again, another question. When we don't have the radius, I have the center for 3 and the point on the circle is negative 1, 1. I start by calculating the radius by using the distance formula, x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1, and again, it's not important which point do you choose as 2 or 1. And here I chose this point to be 0.2 and the center to be 0.1. So this is 0.2 for me, this is 0.1. And also when I replace it in the equation, this is h and this is k. So here negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Squaring both values here, I will get r equals to radical 25 plus 4, which means r equals to 29. So I got the radius. I put the equation, the standard equation of the circle, x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals to r squared, and start replacing values. H is equal to 4, k is equal to 3, and r is right here equals to radical 29. Now the last step is simplifying. The first one, there is nothing to simplify. The second one, there's nothing to simplify. I only have these to cancel, so it will be equal to 29. Okay,